Hello, I'm William Gallagher. This is the 58 Keys writing workshop set of videos, and ordinarily, well, I'm a writer, so I'll tell you how I happen to write some things, and then you're a writer, so you please disagree with me in the comments. Yeah, this time, well, the first bit's the same, and the second bit could be the same, but it's like this time I feel I'm just going to offer you kind of a list of things, a menu of options, and I have a preference, I'm sure you do. We might change that. We might talk each other around in the comments. Maybe that's what we can do. And we might also just decide that writers are a bit daft. Because, well, I think we are for a lot of reasons, but this time especially. Because we're talking about naming characters. It is ridiculous how attached you can get to a character name. You made up the name, you made up the character, but once you've got them together, it's like it's inviolate somehow. And then inviolate. What's the opposite of inviolate? There are times when you have to violate it. Yeah, don't press too hard on the pronunciation of that word. Ways to do it, right? You could name characters after people you know. What could go wrong? Don't do that. You could, the key to things, seems to me, you could create character names where the names have a particular meaning, or you could have names that are seemingly random, or at least that you're not imposing a meaning on it, and people tend to go one way or the other. Charles Dickens was dead into names that told you something. I have, of course, blanked on every name. Well, actually, I've blanked on the name for a reason. Give me a second. Let's make one up. Kevin Obsequious. Okay, presumably of the Obsequious. There's the O there. I'm trying to think, is there an Irish family name? I've got an Irish background. Kevin Obsequious. Okay, just let's work with it. I feel he's not going to be an action hero. Okay, we get the character straight away. Dickens did do a lot of that things, but that thing about my forgetting that is that after quite a while, Kevin Obsequious, you forget that obsequious means what it does, and it becomes his name. It becomes part of his character, and you associate the two. Forget Dickens for a second. The example is the Beatles, isn't it? Because the Beatles, the name presumably originally was a gag, because it's Beatles as in the insect, but spelt B-E-A-T as in, you know, musical beat and stuff. So I'm not saying it was a hilarious gag, but presumably that's where it started from. And now nobody can conceive of reading it that way. Advantages of setting out your character names like this. I mean, I don't think it's easier. I think it's just as hard as anything else, but you do convey something straight away about the character. I mean, Jane Mundane, you can already see her the moment you've heard the name. So there's that. You can hear there's a slight hesitation in her voice. I'm not against it. It's just isn't right for me. The way that's right for me is to have a more believable sort of name, I suppose. I mean, immediately believable. I'm thinking of things like, well, actually, isn't there Great Uncle Bulgaria is surprisingly believable. Professor Snape is totally believable. But in that case, Elizabeth Beresford, who created the Wombles, and J.K. Rowling, who created the Harry Potter books, they both took place names for it. There's actually a thing in Elizabeth Beresford's original books about the Wombles where Great Uncle Bulgaria, when the Womble reaches a certain age and is therefore named, he gets out, I think it's the Times Atlas of the World, and is it as random as... But that's how we get Orinoco and Wellington and Bungo and Madame Chalet and all of these character names that we totally forget are places. Snape is a place as well, but not as obvious as Bulgaria. I mean, you think, amazing that Great Uncle Bulgaria works. It's also interesting that it only works when it's prefixed by Great Uncle, as in Madame Chalet is never just Chalet. I don't know, interesting, but yeah, okay. So Snape and I believe other character names in the Harry Potter universe are named this way. It could be totally random, which... obviously it isn't wrong. Why am I hesitating over it? It bothers me a tiny bit to be totally random. And yet, I can't remember, I'm actually blanking on the name. Nigel Neal, back in the 50s, he picked a name out of the phone book. It wasn't totally like that, but he was flicking through it. He saw the name Quatermass listed. That's it, I'm having that. And then Quatermass became this incredible series of television dramas and Hammer horror films, and just a brilliant name, and picked out of a phone book. So there you go, the Times Atlas of the World. Any kind of, we don't have phone books anymore. What's the equivalent? A random Google search? How do you search? Give me a name like Quatermass. I don't know, but I bet online there is actually a random name generator. That feels like abdicating even that amount of responsibility for picking your name, but I always think in this in writing, whatever gets you to the finishing line, as long as you're not copying something, that's good, that works. Random names, if a name pops up that's right for you and your character, go for it. But I said right at the start that I thought we were quite daft about names, and we get attached. We get shockingly attached to it. And my example is, I wrote a Doctor Who for Big Finish, and it originally had a character in it called Little Naismith. Swear I've no idea where the Naismith came, but the rhythm of that Little Naismith, I really liked it, and I really liked her. But there happens to be a thing with that sort of Doctor Who, the radio things, there's a really tight word count. I know this sounds stupid, but to get under the word count, I had to change a name from Little Naismith to just Naismith. Could there be a smaller change? I'm sure there could, but I can't think of what it is. But I tell you, it was really hard to get back to liking her after that change. Oh, stop looking at me. You're the same. You're a writer. Yeah. You can get attached to names, right? And I think we do naturally. And I think maybe it imbues the character with something that we make that connection. But then there are more serious times when you have to change the name. There are legal reasons. For example, I can't remember the ruling for it in television. It must be the same. I read it in television. It must be the same for everything. If there is one person in the world you can find who really is called Kevin Obsequious, then it's out. You can't risk it. Done. If there are several Kevin Obsequiouses, you're fine. Go ahead. Please consult lawyers for details in case I've got that wrong. But broadly, that's the sense of it. I don't think that's happened to me, and nor has this, but it can. You find the very best, again, I'm talking about film and television more than books. Books go crazy, but the film version of your book, right, there's Kevin Obsequious, and the best actor for it is a woman. Great, brilliant, you've got to have her. But Kevin is really not going to last well. I mean, you could make it work, but you're going to change the name, probably. What other there could be really stupid things like if it's an episodic anthology, is the character name too similar to something else? There are issues about similarity of names, particularly in, say, radio, where you're very dependent on people being called by their name, you're dependent on the voices being different and all this stuff. But if you have Jack, a man, J-A-C-K, and Jack, J-A-C-Q, a woman, then on radio, you're just begging for trouble there. So reasons to spread out in your story, if you're in a series, reasons to spread out compared to others. I actually do have a woman called Jack in the thing I'm writing at the moment, but it's essential that it be her name for reasons. Okay, plus I really like her. I really like her name. Getting complicated. How about this then? I'd like to end just this thing before I ask you what you think about names with a story that am I pleased about this? I truly don't know. An extraordinary long time ago, I wrote a story that featured a woman called Susan Hare. Couldn't tell you where I got the name from, but I really liked that. The syllables for it. I mean, yeah, she was quick-witted. Is that where I got hare from? Because I associate hare with speed and things, tortoise and the hare stuff. I don't think consciously, but maybe I did. Nonetheless, Susan Hare, there she is. There's also actually, there's a famous designer called Susan Kare, K-A-R-E, and I'm certain there's no connection there, but perhaps there was. Susan Hare, though, I really liked the character in that script. I really liked that story. Totally failed to go anywhere. But then in maybe the very next piece I wrote, I was looking for a character name. I thought, well, it didn't work. Then I'll just borrow it. So Susan Hare became a totally different character in another story. And that surprises me now looking back because of this thing of attaching characters to it. But as it happened, maybe she's cursed because that one didn't go anywhere either. And a while later, several stories on, things that did work, things that didn't, I tried another one and just somehow Susan Hare seemed the right name. I'm guessing she probably appears in 7 stories. The one I'm writing now, I kind of drop a little hint to myself, really. I let a character be called Susan and I know it's her, but I'm dialing down the constant use of her real full name. I realised at some point you could argue just about that across these 7 stories I'd actually written the life of one character called Susan Hare. I mean, pretty varied and bit, inconsistent in places, but you could smooth it out. And it became like she was this real woman I know. And there was some totally separate project I had to do on, God knows what it was about, something on Facebook, stunning number of years ago. Needed to create a profile for something. I created Susan Hare on Facebook, and to this day she's still there. I've forgotten the password, can't remember anything about it. I did see at one point I managed to get enough. She has more friend requests than I do, but also once a year, every year, I get a reminder that it's Susan Hare's birthday, and I raise a mug of tea to this totally non-existent person. If that's daft, I'm all right with that. Right, listen, that's all I can tell you about names. I think about it a lot, and there are other choices you could go for. But how about you tell me about your choices of names? And it'd be nice if you let me know if you're daft about them as well. This is what the comments were invented for. Let's have a ponder, get a cup of tea, have a natter in the comments, and then go back to writing something with or without Susan Hare and Kevin Obsequious. Do you know, even in the length since I thought of it talking to you, I quite like Kevin Obsequious. Jane Mundane has an issue. It's also rhyming. If the name's enough now, William. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself. Write more. I'll see you soon.